We can sit and we can cry about what happened. And we will forever mourn the people that we have lost, our brothers and sisters that we have lost in this war. That will always be with us, and it will always be a scar for the Jewish people. However, the amount of community that's come out of this, the amount of innovation that has come out of this, the people that have come back to their Judaism, that have woken up, it's beautiful. It's beautiful to see. There is so much good that has come out of this. So much good.
Today on Jew and Stew, we're joined by Yocheved Ruttenberg, founder of Sword of Iron Israeli Volunteer Corps. At just 24 years old, she's mobilized more than 40,000 volunteers since October 7th. Just days after the attacks, she boarded a plane to Israel, carrying 23 duffel bags of supplies. What began as a small Facebook group has since grown into a global volunteer network, coordinating everything from agriculture and food distribution to emergency response, displaced families, and mental health support. She is young, fearless, and already leading one of the most significant grassroots effort of this moment. And if this is where she's starting, we can only imagine where she will go. Hi, Yocheved Kim. Thank you so much for joining us today on Jew and Stew.
Thank you so much for having me. It's about time that we kick this off.
Right. Third time is a charm. I'm very sorry. The first time we were supposed to record, my kids all had those back to school germs and they traveled through the household and I had no voice, so we could not record. So I'm glad we're recording today. You grew up in Baltimore, Maryland in an Orthodox Jewish home. Can you tell us a little bit about your childhood?
Yeah, of course. So both of my parents became religious after they got married. So as you can imagine, an Orthodox Jewish household, an American Orthodox Jewish household being, is exactly how I grew up. I went to Beis Yaakov when I was in elementary school. I wore headbands, I wore long skirts, long sleeve button-ups, and my childhood was interesting because my parents got divorced when I was 10, which really kind of shook my world because I was raised in such a Jewish bubble until 10. And then when that kind of burst, I ended up going from like religious day school to Baltimore City public school. And that's where the name Kim came from. So it's a really interesting story because it was like overnight, everything that I knew kind of went away and I had to completely readjust. I was one of 10 white kids in the entire school. It was nothing I knew, and I had to very quickly adjust to kind of being in the secular world. And so I was like, okay, I can't go to Baltimore City public school with the name Yocheved. So I decided to give myself a nickname Kim, which actually stuck until October 7th. People did not know me as Yocheved. I think maybe less than 6 people in my life called me Yocheved until October 7th. And now I only go by Yocheved, but it's so funny because my old friends still call me Kim. I'm always like, who are you speaking to? But yeah, it was a really interesting childhood. I jumped from...
No, did you carry at all any of the Jewish identity into high school, even assimilating? Or did it let it go?
No, I was really angry at religion. Like I had a lot of anger towards it growing up because when you're raised by parents who found it, it's kind of an extreme version of the religion. So I was raised in a household where you're told, okay, you celebrate Shabbat, you celebrate the holidays, you eat kosher, but I'm not going to actually explain to you the reasons behind it. These are just the things that you do. So I didn't understand it. I was very angry at it, especially after my parents got divorced. I didn't feel like the community was so supportive. Kind of felt a little ostracized and like it just wasn't... It didn't settle well with me. And then I went through a huge transition in my life where I was in public school, inner city public school, and I needed to adjust to that. And so my personality really started to mold in a very different way. And I got diagnosed with dyslexia when I was in 8th grade. And my mom pulled me out of public school and she put me in a private school for high school, where I was a school for kids with learning disabilities, where I was really able to kind of say, okay, now I get to see what else is out there in the world. So I was in 3 very different environments, which taught me a lot, taught taught me a lot in general at a very young age, and taught me how to deal with people very well, all different types of people. I had friends all across the spectrum. And then I started working when I was 16. A little younger, I started babysitting. I started lifeguarding, I think as a lot of teenagers do, babysitting and lifeguarding. And
I did as well, yeah.
Yeah, we've all been there. We've all been there. And then I started working at a local pizza shop. And I totally fell in love with working in customer service and getting to know people. And I was working over 40 hours a week when I was in high school. I was like, can I leave school so I can go work? And it became kind of like my safe haven until I went to college.
How did you choose Kim?
So I actually love this country artist. His name is Brad Paisley, and his wife is so pretty. And I loved her name, Kimberly, and I loved him as an artist. And I was like, okay, I love this name. So I started going by Kimberly, but really Kim stuck. So I was known as like Kim the white girl in school.
So it worked. You assimilated in high school.
It worked. Yeah.
And so you left your Jewry a little bit. And then where'd you go to college?
I went to school in South Florida. I would say more than just a little bit. I completely left any piece of, I completely separated
you resented
myself.
it.
From Judaism until I came to Israel after October 7th. Like I came prior to Israel when I was 18 on birthright. And I remember being hysterical, like crying, like, I don't want to go to the Kotel. I don't want to go to Jerusalem. I don't want to be around anything that's close to the religion. It stressed me out. It gave me anxiety. It was something I just never really started to deal with until really like the war.
Did both your parents leave? I mean, I don't know if that's the right term, but leave being Orthodox when the divorce happened, or did one of them remain more?
Or both.
Yeah.
What happened with their faith?
So my mom, over the years, really came away from it. She's actually starting to come back to it now. She just rejoined a synagogue again, which is so exciting. I told her, I was like, that's the best news I've heard all month. And my dad's very religious. My dad's continued to be religious. Yeah.
Do you think it was your resentment? Like also when we were growing up, I feel like being Jewish wasn't cool. And like that was also part of the assimilation process. Like, I mean, well, I was raised Reform, but even in like our ecosystem, like you wanted to go away from being Jewish because it was less like American. It was more different. And when you're young, you just like kind of want to just go to high school and like have that experience. So I think it's actually maybe ubiquitous, like because Simona had a similar.
Well, I was raised nothing because my parents were from the Soviet Union and my parents didn't know how to practice and they just knew that they were Jewish, but that was about it. So I wasn't raised with really much of it at all, unfortunately, and kind of found it later in life when I had my own kids.
Amazing.
So similar to your parents, except we're not Orthodox.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Wow. That's so interesting. And now your kid.
I'm still searching for that like actual religious component to my Judaism. Like I think most of it's very allegoric and like our ancestors were writing stuff down that's very important. But when it comes to like the actual religious component, I still post October 7th, post everything. Like I have this very strong relationship with God, but when it comes to like some of the religious stuff, I'm still in my search to find it.
I don't think that you need to necessarily be religious if you feel connected and you feel spiritually aligned. Like I think that religion works for some people and it doesn't work for everybody, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're further away from your connection with God. And I think that's something that I struggle with a lot being raised in the Jewish community in America, is that it's very black and white, or it feels very black and white. I didn't know that there was a middle ground until I came to Israel. So it's like you're either Orthodox and religious or you're not. There's no middle ground.
Right. Like you can have a very close relationship with Hashem and never go to temple, never, it's funny. Like I was with a friend last night and I was saying like, I don't say brachas, but when I get a glass of water, I literally take a beat to thank Hashem, like in English, and it's pretty much the same thing. I'm saying, thank you, God, so much for allowing me to have this like clean drink of water where so many people in this world don't have access to. And so I think it's like, what are we talking about? It's the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're living your life with like these Jewish values, with Judeo values. And you could be a much better person than some people who do choose to practice religion and don't necessarily live out the values. I'm a really big believer that someone is like, yes.
I've seen it. I've seen, like, unfortunately, with kids, and especially Jewish day schools or things where the kids are not the kindest of people. But well, what I was going to say is we're members of a Reform congregation now, but my husband sometimes attends Chabad, and the reason he's attending is he's actually learning a lot of the why certain things happen, like the history of the religion. He even studied like the formation of all the different types of Judaism and all the, I guess, sects of Judaism. And my experience, the one time my parents did try to introduce religion to us, is they tried to send me to like a Russian Jewish Orthodox Sunday school to prep me for my Beni Mitzvah. And anytime I asked questions, I was pretty much told, don't ask any questions. And I went like 3 times. I went to one of the bar mitzvahs where the women were separated behind like a partition. And I was just like, yeah, this is not for me. And I refused to go back. So I was never Beni Mitzvah. But I think in a lot of Judaism, understanding the reason why you do the ritual or the prayer or whatever it is you're doing is really important. So I wonder why we both had that experience where we were pretty much told, just do the thing and don't ask any questions.
It makes me really sad that so many people have this experience, because Judaism is such a beautiful culture and religion. And I think that we would see a lot less kids coming away from Judaism and intermarriage if we talked about the why behind it. And Judaism wants you to talk about the why behind it. It's a huge part of Judaism is ask questions, be curious, always be learning. Those are Judeo values. But we're all broken people, unfortunately.
I'm glad my children are having a different experience. Like they're really understanding and learning their Judaism and their Jewish identity and wanting to connect to it. And I'm glad that, they have a different experience than you and I had.
So you went to Southern Florida, and I feel like that is a very Jewish area, right? Wait, where in Florida did you go to college?
In Davie. I went to Nova Southeastern University. So it's not the super community.
It's not Miami.
Okay. It's not Boca.
It's not Boca. It's not Miami. But I remember walking on campus and seeing the brand new Chabad at the time. The brand new family that was there. They were walking around with the esrog, the lulav. They were like walking, and I stopped them. I was
Thank
like,
God for Chabad.
I know. I was like, you're Jewish. And they took me in.
Was that your re-entering back into some kind of Jewish, or were you already coming back?
No, I wasn't.
Like, were you looking for Chabad, or did it find you? No.
It found me, and I fell in love with the family. They were my like Jewish family away from home. It was everything I grew up with, and it was a family. Like they had beautiful kids and an amazing household. And so it really brought back a piece of my childhood that I had been missing for years. But even still, I wouldn't necessarily say that it brought me back to my Judaism. I was dating non-Jewish guys. I wasn't practicing anything when it came to Judaism, except going to Shabbat dinner maybe once every couple months, and then going to their house when I needed food. Like it wasn't, it didn't bring me back. Not really.
Chabad's a good.
But Chabad's are great.
Didn't.
I love them.
They're good gateway drugs. Yeah.
They are.
For me, they helped. Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, they helped. I really, because I was a salesman, and I would, when I first started going in healthcare, I would be driving like across the Midwest to like Dearborn, Michigan, and like Minnesota.
Dearborn, Michigan.
I would find like Chabad and just like exhale. I'd be like,
yeah.
Okay, there's some bearing here of like some cultural familiar.
I'm glad to hear there's a Chabad in Dearborn, Michigan.
I don't know if there was in Dearborn. It might have been like me driving through there to find one, but just thank God for them. They're like emissaries for us.
It's
it really is.
You can appreciate, I think, until you get older and you come out of the Jewish bubble. And then you're like, wait, I missed the Jewish bubble. And then you're like, oh my gosh, almost every city, especially in America, has a Chabad, and across the world, it's what makes us so special as Jews. Like that's what makes us who we are, is our community, our global community. You could be a Jew and show up at any Chabad and they'll take you in and they'll feed you and they'll give you a place to stay and they'll make you feel at home. And I think that's so special.
I didn't know about Chabads till maybe 2 years ago. Like
what?
I'd never, no, for
She's
real.
a Soviet Jew.
Yeah,
I mean, they
I grew up, we grew up quite different, but I was surprised how much drinking goes on at the Chabads.
Yeah, they're fun.
They have a good time.
Just wait till you're there on Purim. Yeah.
So, okay. So, I mean, we're just speaking about how the philanthropic nature of Chabads, and we want to know, like, really, we're just trying to get your pedigree here, but the work you are doing, Yocheved, is amazing. And everybody knows about it. Like, seriously, people are always telling me about your Facebook groups. Tell us a little bit about, like, we kind of understand you went away from your Jewry. And then there was this, I almost feel like it's like pre-October 7th and post-October 7th every time we do these podcasts. Like, it's two different people I got to interview.
Because it is. Pre-October 7th, I was living in Dallas, Texas after I graduated from college in a travel trailer that I had renovated by myself, dating a Christian, working in roofing sales, living in a very Christian...
Were you making TikToks
I was
of
not.
the renovation?
Okay. That
was big for a while.
It was, okay. And I should have, but I didn't. And I was going door to door selling roofs. And by day I was selling commercial roofs. At night I was selling residential roofs. Literally driving a truck, a Ram 1500, carrying a ladder, climbing up on roofs, checking for hail damage in the middle of the Dallas, Texas heat.
So you were like the opposite of Jewish.
I was the complete opposite.
Like, literally, if you think of a Jew, you were living the opposite life.
Yeah. Okay, people were shocked. When I tell people that story, they're like, you were what? You were climbing on roofs? I was like, yeah, I got stuck on a roof once. I had to have a Haitian man help me down. I got stuck. Thank God for him. Yeah.
Well, I think we need to talk about your brothers, because that was one of the big catalysts for all of this. So are you younger? Are you the youngest, or how old are you compared to your brothers?
I'm the middle. I have an older brother and a younger. My younger brother's he's getting his PhD in math right now. He's 21 and getting his PhD. He's incredibly smart. And he lives in Pittsburgh. And my older brother moved to Israel when he was 17 by himself. We had never been to Israel before. He didn't speak the language, and he moved to Israel to join the army. And he was, prior to October 7th, he was supposed to be releasing in November 2023 after 5.5 years of being in the army. And then October 7th happened. And all plans of him moving, he was going to move to Texas, and we were going to get into real estate and some other side hustles. And all plans of him coming to Texas obviously went out the window. He was in the north on the 7th, and like a little bit outside of Tel Aviv at a nature party. And his friends called him early in the morning and said, something really bad is happening, like really bad is happening in the south. We don't really know what's going on, but like, it's not good. And my brother is, if anybody sees him, he's like a big warrior, and like he's out of uniform and everyone knows that he's a soldier, and he's like, I don't understand, how do people know that I'm a soldier? I'm like, because you look like one. He has a huge beard, he's tall, he's yoked, he's got like a big sleeve tattoo, he walks around with he looks like a warrior. I remember him calling me the night before and saying, should I bring a girl to this party? And that's how I knew that he was in the north and not in the south. And at like 7 a.m., his friends called him and said something really bad is happening in the south. We don't really know what's going on, but it's horrible. And my brother jumped in his car, went straight to base, grabbed his gear, and just drove straight down to the south by himself. And his story is miraculous. It is such a miracle that he is alive and with us, because it was terrifying. I mean, they didn't know what was going on. Like, now we know. Now we see all the videos. But like, on that day, nobody knew what was happening. There was no real accurate news that was coming out. Everything was happening like in the moment, obviously. And he said that as he was driving to the south, Waze was taking him in all different crazy ways, like crazy directions. It took him around the back of the kibbutz, which is where the terrorists were coming in from. And he said as he was driving, he saw a guy that was dead on the side of the road, another guy that was barely alive. So my brother stopped and was like, "Who are you?" in Arabic, yelled at him like, "Where are you from? Who are you?" He said, looking back, this guy was totally a terrorist, but he didn't know, and he couldn't do anything, because you didn't just want to, take drastic measures when you didn't know if that was an Israeli or a terrorist. And he said his commander was calling him saying, "You have to get out of there. You have to get out of there. They're kidnapping soldiers." And my brother was he was in the special units. He was in the commando brigades during his service. And after his 3 years completed, he signed extra time and he started training all of the commando brigades. He was the head shooting instructor. And so he trained thousands and thousands of elite soldiers. And when he was driving to the kibbutz, he said he got to the bottom of a hill and there was a white truck sitting at the top, and he had no idea who it was. And he was like, "Okay, I'm going to put my full uniform on and I'm just going to inch towards them." So he put his helmet on and everything. He started inching towards them. They didn't shoot. So he was like, "Okay, I think it's IDF." He stuck his hands out of the car. He started screaming, "IDF, IDF." And the soldiers in the truck recognized him by his voice, because they were soldiers that he had trained. And they were like, "What? Come join our team." And that's the story of how my brother got paired up with the team on October 7th, and his life was saved. And they said the only reason that they didn't shoot him is because he had his full uniform on. It's crazy. It's such a miracle. It is such a miracle. I get goosebumps every time I tell the story. And I wake up in Dallas, Texas on October 7th, horrified by what was going on. I actually went to Sukkot dinner the night before. And I get home. It's like midnight, very early in the morning in Israel. I open my phone. I see the video of the terrorists in Sderot in the truck. I don't think anything of it. I turn my phone off. I go to sleep. I wake up the next morning. I see a single text across my screen. "Do you see what's going on in Israel?" The second I opened my phone, I couldn't move like everybody. I was stuck to my phone, reloading everything. My brother put me in all the Telegram chats. So I was getting all of the horrific videos as they were happening through my phone. I knew my brother was in the South. First I called him, he didn't answer. I called him again, he didn't answer. And it's like one of those things, he's there. You don't really know what's going on. And all I was seeing was just the most horrific videos. It was terrifying. I couldn't go to sleep that night because I didn't know what the status of my brother was. We didn't hear from him. Every couple hours he would send an emoji, but we didn't know what the status of him was. And as you both know, the news in America was the news everywhere. It was a horrific day. And I called my mom.
Not that day, though. I feel like we didn't realize what had happened till a day or two later. I mean, I remember being told Hamas attacked Israel and me being like, yeah, that happens all the time. That's nothing new. And I just went about my day. And I think it was a day and a half later that it really started coming out how serious the attack was. Really, the day of, we did not realize the severity.
I can't even remember. I have PTSD. I'm trying to remember, I think I blocked it out. I can't remember the details. I do remember staying up all night the first night though. I do.
I remember exactly where I was when I found out about it. I mean, it's September 11th. Where you were when you found out. I was
know where I was, but the gravity right away, I can't remember if I understood holistically what was happening. I don't think anybody did, but I knew it wasn't just a regular skirmish because they were in our territory. And I was I knew we were gonna make sense of it soon, or the IDF would, but I don't know if I really, I was just freaked out, I guess, you know,
I mean,
but you know, there are a lot of stories oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, girl.
No.
I didn't mean to cut
I was
you
just
off.
saying it was,
Go
no,
ahead.
go ahead. I was just saying it was horrifying. It's the worst tragedy that's happened to our generation since the Holocaust.
Yeah. Yeah. But what I was going to say, I guess, was like just the aftermath of that. Like, I think about these, we were talking about assimilation before, these anti-Zionist Jews who, yes, we had the worst thing happen to our people, but the communal response, being a part of, you know, and we're talking about finding our Jewish identity again, after October 7th, like my antenna that's connected to Hashem was like, it went off, you know, like I felt the calling, like, I'm not your brother. I didn't grab my gun, but I felt that, you know?
I think so many did. So many. I talk about it all the time. We can sit and we can cry about what happened, and we will forever mourn the people that we have lost, our brothers and sisters that we have lost in this war. That will always be with us, and it will always be a scar for the Jewish people. However, the amount of community that's come out of this, the amount of innovation that has come out of this, the people that have come back to their Judaism, that have woken up, it's beautiful. It's beautiful to see. There is so much good that has come out of this. So much good.
Even my grandparents were they were partisans fighters in the Belsky Brigade, you know? They were like resistance fighters, and they went through hell. And they even kept a tinge of optimism when they left the Holocaust, when they left the forest. I go to my grandma and I'm like, what was hell like? It was so bad. She always focused on the aftermath. She'd be like, yeah, but then God gave us Israel. Like it's almost like built into our resilience to see it half full, because if we don't, you know, it's a really tough history for our people. You have to.
I don't know if we've ever had, I mean, I don't want to say the word war, but a situation that was like, you're watching this and it's happening to somebody you love deeply in real time via social media and telegraph, and you're watching these horrific videos. I can't imagine the terror and like how sick to your stomach you must have been during that time. But I don't think we've ever, like, this is a new experience for us as human beings to watch such terrors live in real time, like this.
I mean, it was the most helpless feeling you can ever imagine. My brother and I are so close. The most helpless feeling. I called my mom and I told her, I said, I'm going to Israel. I mean, that's what triggered her. I was like, Mom, on October 7th, I'm going to Israel. And she told me, if you don't go, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. You have to go to Israel. And that was one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make in my entire life, was choosing to come to Israel immediately after October 7th, because so many people tried to talk me out of it. Almost everybody tried to talk me out of it. And you know, they say, like with entrepreneurs, right? Like more ideas die before they even get started, because people will try to protect you by talking you out of it, because they think that they're doing what's right for you. You sometimes have a screaming gut feeling, a fire burning inside of you that you can't ignore, even if it doesn't make any logical sense. And you just have to chase it. And it was one of those moments. I mean, like, I didn't care what the repercussions were going to be. If I was getting stuck there, if I was going to lose my job, I fully support myself. Like, I had a whole life. I didn't care. I was like, I'm going to Israel. I didn't even think about like the personal safety, my personal safety. Like, I was just like, I have to be there.
I think, and we all in our own microcosms showed up wherever there was, because because that day, like, so something like Simone is saying, like, eroded in it was so existential. Like, I don't think we were, that was the first time our generation has seen something that existential to Israel, to the Jewish people. Like, our bubbies and Zadies would talk about this kind of stuff, and we'd be like, what are you talking about? We're like assimilated in America in 8th grade. Things are great. You know what I mean? Like, we were so naive. And so that ancestral calling, I think, hit a lot of people.
It did. But the the aftermath of what's happening to Jews around the world is something I never imagined that we were going to live through. It's something that we learned about in school. Like, we grew up learning about the Holocaust. Did you ever imagine that we would be reading stories about Jews not being allowed in stores?
The shocking thing to me is the gaslighting, I think like I always knew people like hate people, but then I think what I learned through this experience of anti-Semitism was like how nuanced it is and like how it's used, like distorting narratives. And I think the gaslighting really was what shocked me. Like Simona was saying, like it was all on video, and they still wouldn't even let Jews be a victim.
Not just that, it's all like the level of conspiracy theory, like, and it's interesting because a lot of it is coming from the left, but it's like QAnon level conspiracy theories, like that Israel did it themselves, that it was Israeli soldiers that killed their own people. Like the amount
it comes from the woke right too. The woke right and woke left both kind of.
I've just the like mind gymnastics you have to jump through to follow the logic here, and then how every movement's been like co-opted by this. Like we've been having anti-ICE protests here in Chicago, and you find out that they're like put on by the Socialist Party for Palestine, and like the chants are from Chicago to Palestine, like no occupation. Like they're conflating every single issue with this same cause. It's
hating Jews.
I don't think it's Jews. It's not about the Jews though. It's not
Western
about
values.
It's Western values and family values being thrown in the trash. And there's this saying that I love. It's hard times create hard men create good times create soft men, and soft men create hard times. And that is the cycle that we're finding ourselves in right now. It's not about the Jews. The Jews are just a consequence of what's happening. It's the fact that we have allowed this woke culture to embed itself in our schools, in our media, in our workplaces, in our homes. We've taken all these progressive values too far. Feminism, we take it too far.
Yeah, well, they're illiberal. Well, I think what happens is like we believe in liberalism, we believe in like egalitarianism, we believe, and I think they took these, merit and like protecting minorities, and then they like took that liberalism and flipped it on its head, but still call it liberalism. I don't know if we want to talk about this on air, but your boyfriend said the same exact quote on our podcast. So I can totally see why.
I want to back up a little bit. I actually, your brother was in Israel.
Yeah.
We know that they desperately needed supplies. I actually have a video of yours I'd love to share and play that if we could talk about. Let me share my screen.
Which, by the way, just for the record, I think that part of fighting for Jews, like now we're seeing two wars, right? There's a war on Jews and there's a war in Israel. There's more than that. Like we're in World War III. People just aren't talking about it. It's a different type of warfare than we've ever seen. And it's been happening for years and we've just been asleep at the wheel. But part of our job is fighting for these Judeo-Christian values to come back. And I think Charlie Kirk's death woke a lot of people up.
I do too. Because whether you agree with Charlie Kirk or not, if you don't agree with civil discourse and murder, like murder not being okay, then it's not a difference of politics, it's a difference of morality. And what the fuck are we doing here? We can't even talk about ideas. Yeah, it's crazy.
You can't sit at the dinner table and have conversations with people that disagree with you. They'll start screaming at you, shut down, and they're not open to hearing anything. How can you ever evolve as a person and grow as a person if you're not willing to hear somebody who doesn't agree with you? And that's where we're at.
I actually think we as Jews have been very good about having discourse on topics we disagree with, like the old saying, like 2 Jews, 3 opinions. Like, I think we're used to being able to like argue with each other. And that's been with Chicago Jewish Alliance. It's been so
we argue a lot.
We
on
argue
politics.
a lot, but what I was going to say is like we have people on all spectrums of like the political spectrum of all sides of it on our team, and we can actually have conversations and hear each other's viewpoints out. Like our team is the first time I ever met like a log cabin gay Republican. I grew up in a bubble thinking all gay men were obviously Democratic. Like I never had met gay Republican men before, and I'm, able to have conversations as to why they align with what they align with, and it's been amazing. But I would love to play this video real quick.
I remember making this video.
Hey everybody. So in the last week since all this has been going on, I have refrained from publicly sharing that my brother is actively in Israel fighting to protect our country. He called me earlier today letting me know that he's currently missing some really key items that him along with many other soldiers really need. A lot of those items are ones that we are currently fundraising for, and so please, anything helps. $5, $10, literally anything that you can do. Please reach out to me if you have any questions. I'm happy to have conversations with all of you. We'll be posting updates on where everything is going and what supplies we're getting, but this is so important to make sure that they have the right equipment that they need to protect themselves during such a dangerous time. Have a good day, everybody, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you.
Yeah, you want to tell us about this video?
This was as soon as I decided I was going to Israel, and I realized that people needed supplies. And my brother at this point had called me and said, I haven't slept for 3 days. I don't have a watch. I don't know when I'm going to be able to come home. I don't have anything with me. He left on the 7th, expecting to come home and not realizing that he wasn't going to be for a very long time, along with hundreds and thousands of other soldiers. And so I started fundraising to bring supplies. And that was an incredible experience. I never really made videos before. I made like a couple roofing videos, but I wasn't really on social media the way I am now. I've never raised money before. I remember saying if I raise $5,000, it'll be a huge win. At the end of 5 days, I'd raised about $17,000, which was amazing because it didn't come from many Jews. So yeah, I raised at the end of 5 days, I ended up raising close to $17,000, which was way past what I thought I was going to be able to do. And a lot of it came from Christians. I went to my Christian clients and I said, listen, I know you know what's going on in Israel. I'm going, and this is what I'm going for. And some of them hand delivered me cash. Like they literally came to me and dropped envelopes of cash off and said, please take this. And so it was unbelievable the amount of support that came out. And so we ended up buying thousands of dollars worth of supplies. And that was really my first ever fundraising experience. And I got connected to somebody who wanted to help. His cousin was shot in Kfar Aza. And somehow, you know how the Jewish world works, we're only 1 degree separated from each other. Somebody called me and said, there's this guy living in LA. He wants to help fundraise. He wants to do something. Can I connect you? His cousin was shot in Kfar Aza. He's in the hospital and he just wants to help. And so I ended up getting connected to him. His name is Kevin. I love him so much. If he's listening to this, we will always forever share this experience together. He ended up doing most of the order.
I want to interrupt for just a second for those of our listeners who don't know about Kfar Aza. I mean, they were one of the most hardest hit kibbutzes. We had a Zoom with a woman from Kfar Aza, and she literally attended 2 funerals plus a day for weeks. Her, I believe Danny was her ex-husband, her children's father was shot. Her sister's husband was killed. I mean, she filled a whole screen with pictures.
We just had an event raising money for this kibbutz. It's a kibbutz, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we just raised money with this fund called Protect Israel Fund, and we met a lot of people that lived on the kibbutz. What was the most sobering thing, though, was one of the ladies who experienced a bunch of trauma put this picture up of folks that lived in the kibbutz, and there was like maybe a picture of like 100 people, and it was in a very eclectic bunch, like women, children. And it was like 80% of the people on there were killed. But just to end that story, we did wind up raising a good amount of money to basically the Protect Israel Fund is an amazing fund that takes very vulnerable communities on the perimeter in those kind of areas and helps with drones and defensive measures to protect the civilians. But anyways, yeah, it's a great organization.
People are doing such good work to help the communities that were hit.
You know, like people will even say to me, like, there will be like, so at the Chicago Jewish Alliance, I joke that we're like white blood cells. We go wherever there's anti-Semitism, and like people always want to help out where they can, right? And people help out even when they can't. Like I'll get these people that will come to me and be like, you know, there was this school board meeting and I was worried about speaking for like a week, but I did it. And like to them, that's like a little battle for them, but it's just like,
it's a huge
it's ubiquitous. Yeah, it's huge because they're really like retraining their neural pathways to go in front of people and do this thing that they never in a million years would have done.
Their way, to fight.
Exactly.
We have a fascinating guy in our community on our page. His name is Sean. He's in jail in Oklahoma. And he converted to Judaism. He's the only Jew in a jail full of Muslim Brotherhood. And he is so active and positive and uplifting and does everything he can to just cheer all the volunteers on that are on our community and in our page. And he does everything that he can from where he is. And he's in jail. So it's like, you can find a way to help. There is something for you to do. No act is too small. No act is too small. It takes, I always say, like, if you come for a couple hours to pick fruit, okay, you came for a couple hours, but think about that stacking up on itself. You've still contributed to the economy. You've still contributed to a farmer being able to put food on his table. You still contributed to somebody else in the community being able to buy that fruit or vegetable. So there's no act.
It's a ripple.
It's a ripple effect.
Totally. I say that to Simona all the time. Like we'll do something and like sometimes you feel like you do it in vain, like just to do it. And then like you'll hear from a cousin's nephew, sister who checked out Jew and Stew with Yocheved, and you're like, oh, okay. So like people in Toronto heard our podcast. So,
and then they did something. And then it inspired
and then they did,
them.
yeah. And then it inspires them or validates them or totally.
You know, my tagline these days is inspiration is contagious.
So true.
I love that.
It really is.
So backing up, you raised all this money.
I raised all this money. I flew to LA to pack all the supplies because Kevin in LA, my new friend that I never met, was living in LA. And those are the supplies right there. And I flew from LA to Israel, and I landed in Israel October 20th, 2023 with 23. Actually, the duffel bags didn't all come in at once. They came in like 4 or 5 flights, which was the most annoying thing in the world because customs was so much fun to deal with.
How'd you know where to get the supplies? I feel like there was such a issue with people even being able to get supplies over or like get authorized supplies that the soldiers could use. And how did you know where to get stuff?
This was the beginning of the war before there started becoming regulations and customs started really questioning you. Like this was like October 10th that we were ordering stuff, where they were just like, listen, if you're going to get like headlamps, you can't have anything reflective on it. This is what soldiers are saying. Like they were sending us what the soldiers wanted. And then a lot of it was common sense. And I wasn't, like some people bought protective plates. That was its whole own beast in itself. I wasn't dealing with anything like that. I brought a lot of underwear. I brought a lot of socks. I brought a ton of watches. We brought stuff for chafing. We brought like a lot of
all the things they really need. This is what they were telling us they needed, like these
Yeah.
silly things. And we're like, oh, no one knows. Like, yeah, we don't need a $50,000 helmet. Like,
we
you
need
know,
blister
it's like-
pads. I need blister
yeah,
pads.
yeah.
I haven't worn
Some
my
did
Band-Aids,
need helmets.
gauze.
Like
Yeah.
I ended up getting my cousin's
We did.
unit new helmets and vests because like the helmets they had didn't fit their heads correctly. They couldn't put their night vision goggles on. It was hurting their necks. They couldn't turn their heads properly. Like it was kind of shocking how undersupplied they were.
I mean, it's gotten much better.
Yeah, it was kind of shocking. But it was kind of shocking. Early days, I was like, they need a sleeping bag. We can't get this guy a sleeping bag. Like, it was really shocking.
Yeah. I mean, we were getting messages like, we have a unit on the border of Lebanon. They're getting rained out. They have nowhere to sleep. They're freezing. Can you help us get some beds that won't be on the ground so that they can actually get some sleep? I looked at my friend. I was like, a year into this, like, this feels normal. Like, this is normal for us. Like, this is our life. Like, we're supplying an army with what they need. But you don't think about it. It's totally normal that we're supplying soldiers that are going into war with equipment for us now, right? Like, it's like, oh yeah, a unit needs helmets. Okay, we'll get a unit helmets. We'll fundraise for that. We'll get them helmets. That's not normal, though. These are the guys.
Right. Well, I see. In the diaspora, we're getting death threats as being a Jew. Like 2 years ago, there was nothing about me other than just like maybe I love Jerry Seinfeld and Larry David that was Jewish, and now I'm like leading charges with like Israeli flags over me into, I mean, it's just totally crazy. And then like
people
you
are
don't
saying
even,
we need security because
yeah,
we're
people are telling me in Simona
recognizable
we need
now. Yeah, that we need to have
they write
private
hit
security.
pieces on me in the news, and like I never thought I would be that guy. I'm just a guy,
Yeah.
It's like such a fucking crazy world.
I think too that people realize that the IDF isn't fighting just for Israel. Like they're literally fighting for all of us in the whole world right now. And I think that's why that's why your Christian clients are ready to hand you over piles of cash because, they come for Israel. They're coming for the US next. Like,
I mean, just yesterday.
They got Europe.
They got Europe. Europe's done. Just yesterday, a church was shot up and burned down to the ground. So if people think it's not going to happen to them and in their community, they're dreaming and their head is in the sand. We are fighting.
Yeah, that's been
culture.
It's been interesting to watch our Christian friends who've never had to think about security for their institutions of worship and their spaces realize that they now need security too. Like this is a very sad fact, but it's a fact that we have been dealing with. Like I've never been to a synagogue that didn't have security, that didn't have bulletproof windows, that didn't have concrete barriers so cars can't be driven into it. That, it's like a sad fact that we've lived with for so long, and now it's spilling out into other communities. It's awful.
Not to make it political, but it's what happens when you have open borders and you're not checking the people coming into your country and you're defunding police. This is what happens. I remember being at a protest in New York last year. It was like my first pro-Palestinian protest. Thousands of them. They saw Hebrew on the back of my phone and they started chasing me and
my God,
trying to keep me. I was videotaping and they were like, "You're not allowed to videotape." And I said, "Excuse me, I'm in a public place. I'm going to videotape." And they were holding up keffiyehs and they were thousands of them. There were like 2 cops. And I was like, okay, I'm not stupid. I understand the situation. I realize where I am. Like, this is a scary moment. Where are all the cops? If something happened to me, there were 2 cops. If they wanted to do something to me, they could have.
And unfortunately, we're watching like Jewish people being physically attacked. We've seen all the videos. Where was that? In Sweden?
In France?
France, Sweden, where, like
Boulder.
do you see the ones where they came at the guy with like baseball bats and pipes or whatever and like try to beat the living daylights out of him? Like you
Yeah.
don't, it's yeah. Will you send us that video?
I can send you some of them. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, send
They
them.
were They were horrible. It was really, and I'm tough. Like, I don't really consider myself, kind of like wimpy and like I will back down, but
you don't say.
It was a very sobering moment to realize that if they wanted to physically attack me, there was nothing I was able to do, and no amount of self-defense, as my dear loving boyfriend likes to say, no amount of self-defense would protect me from the thousands of pro-Palestinians that were there. And it was scary.
I think about your boyfriend says liquidate the diaspora and come back home because it kind of is home, or that's the ethos that he said, I think, on our podcast.
I said, we disagree on this. We actually have strong disagreements on this. We'll sit down and we'll have an hour-long conversation about it where it gets heated, because we're both very passionate. I think it's,
well, how do you feel about Jews in the diaspora?
I think it's extremely dangerous to advocate for all Jews to leave the diaspora. We need Jews fighting back. We need a strong diaspora. There is no strong Israel without a strong diaspora. We get a lot of,
I agree with you.
Countries. We can't have Jews up and leave. We need to be strengthening our own communities. We need to become strong Jews, which is what I am so proud of him for what he's starting this whole movement, because he's right. We need strong Jews who are unapologetic about being Jewish and not afraid and will not back down and know how to defend themselves so that they can stand by their morals and their values. However, we cannot be advocating for all Jews to come to Israel. First of all, it's unrealistic. Second of all, if all Jews move to Israel, we're going to lose the support of the rest of the world even more so than we already are. And my fear is that we won't be able to leave Israel. I mean, we're talking about where do we want to go for 3 or 4 days with his parents in December on vacation. And we're looking at countries and we're like, nope, can't go there. Nope, can't go there. Nope, can't go there. It's going to become, it's terrifying.
It's not just liquidating the diaspora, but retreating from secular spaces and diving into more. Like, we had a very difficult decision whether we were going to pull, and we did end up pulling my oldest son from public school and putting him in Jewish day school for a year. And that was like, if all parents like me start removing their children from public schools and putting them in Jewish day schools, then we're going to have a whole generation of children in America growing up not knowing any Jewish kids. Like, we're going to be so insulated. We're not, that's not good either. It's not a good way to be. Like, we need to be in public spaces. We need to be in secular spaces. We need people to get to know us, to know who we are.
Up a point I say all the time. You're bringing up something I say all the time. People have never met a Jew. So many people in the world have never met a Jew. And if they have met a Jew, they don't necessarily know that they were a Jew. And they don't necessarily connect the two. We are so insulated in our own communities. We stay in our bubbles and we don't go out and speak to the rest of the world. And when we do, it's defending ourselves instead of saying, hi, this is who we are as people. And so how can you blame them? They don't know us. They learn about us from what their teachers teach them in school, which who knows what they're teaching. They know about us from the Holocaust. They know about us from the media and from social media. They don't know who we are as people.
I had a friend in college. I was the first Jewish person she met. And at a certain point, she was literally told that Jewish people had horns and a tail.
They don't know who we are as people. How can you expect them to have our back? How can you expect them to stand with us when they're seeing on the news that we're responsible for killing babies in Gaza? And they can't defend us because they don't know us.
All of the work that we've been able to do has been through vigilance of the community that tells us, like, okay, this teacher is not an educator, she's an indoctrinator. Here's the nuance about oppressor, oppressee. And that's something that we usually get from the Jewish community on the front lines. And If they're not there, no one's correcting the narrative, which is another thing that I think we've seen a lot too. It's like they also try to infuse this narrative onto us, and if we're not in those rooms, we can't explain it. And I like what you say. We don't even need to defend ourselves or quantify it anymore. This is who we are. We should embrace it and be proud. And I think we have a fiduciary duty to do that for the next generation of Jews, so they could see these older Jews are unapologetically Zionist. They don't need to qualify this, or anything. And I think that's important for us to do.
Part of the work that I do, yes, the organization is volunteering for Israel. But like I said, if there's no strong diaspora, there's no strong Israel. And so it's something that I tell our community and our volunteers all the time is when you go home, or if you can't come to Israel, create something in your community that you wish existed to bring people together. Get involved in your communities at home. Strengthen each other. If everybody's feeling scared and alone, why are we not there together, banding as one? Why are we separated in this? Why are we not coming together? It's incredibly important.
Well, let's talk about Sword of Iron Israel Volunteer Corps. So you flew to Israel with these supplies and you never came home.
And I never stayed. 3 days before my return flight, I called my boss and I said, he answered the phone. He's like, I know what you're about to say to me. I was like, listen, I can't get on a flight. Cannot imagine coming home.
What a big moment. What a big moment. I don't know many people who go charging into trouble the way you did. Like, I think you're so brave.
Thank you. I asked my mom once, I said, why did you tell me to go to Israel right away? Like, everybody says you're crazy for that. Like, what were you thinking? And she said to me, I wasn't sending you to a third world country. I was sending you to Israel. And what was being shown on the news is not what it was here on the ground. And I felt a deep responsibility to make an impact in the way that I feel like I can. And I think I have, and I will continue to do so. I'm only at the beginning of the work that I do. And we have
talk about the work. Tell us what you're doing.
So when I quit my job and I stayed, I started thinking to myself, like, okay, now how can I make a difference? What can I do? How can I help? And I had kind of become like this token American who had flown into Israel when everybody was leaving, and people were reaching out to me and they were saying, like, how can I help? What can we do? And all these organizations who, typically bring missions and are the volunteer organizations on the ground were completely overwhelmed with applications. And I was in all of these different Israeli WhatsApp chats. All these opportunities were coming through my phone in Hebrew. And I said, okay, I'm just going to make a Facebook group and I'm going to start Google translating and posting volunteer opportunities, because you could just show up. They're saying, just please come, show up. So I'm going to make it accessible to people who don't speak Hebrew. And then I realized that there was a need for me to tell my story, because people kept saying to me, how did you get to Israel? And I was so confused. I was like, what do you mean? How did I get to Israel? I booked a flight on El Al and I got on the flight and I came. And people didn't realize that they could do that. They didn't understand that they could just fly into Israel and that the airports were open. And so I started sharing my story, and I started going around to the volunteer opportunities on the ground and showing what it was like to actually be here on the ground. And I started encouraging people to share their experience so that people were getting inspired and saying, wait, if they could do it, I could do it. And it very quickly grew. And now we're at 46,000 people on our Facebook community alone. We have other platforms like our website and Instagram and another Facebook page, which is just a page, but we have multiple different platforms. And it's a very strong community. We have members in over 20 different countries around the world. We're growing more and more every single day. And we're seeing thousands of people, Jews and non-Jews, flooding into Israel still 2 years in to come help and do what they can to support Israel. And so many are coming back for a third, fourth, fifth trip at this point. And they're coming back with people that they met on their last volunteer trip. So it's like,
Turnkey. So I think from the people I hear that do want to come help and they don't know where to begin, how turnkey is it for somebody that wants to come help right now? Like, can I just sign up for a program and like have my housing and everything like set for me, or how does it all work?
So you have programs that do allow you to do that. So what we do is we centralize all volunteering efforts. So we work with everybody in Israel doing work and people that have remote opportunities. And we basically give you a list. And now we're working on a new website, which is going to make it so much easier to find volunteer opportunities. But you have a list of opportunities. And so if you want a program like that, then you can pay for a program like that. And you can join it. But if you want to actually take like full control of your trip and plan every day what you're going to do and figure it out on the fly and learn how to really be an Israeli, you have that option as well. I'm a really big believer in teaching people how to fish and not fishing for them. And so we will give everybody all the information that they need. We will tell you what apps you need. We will even give you a Hebrew starter kit. We will connect you with health insurance companies that are good to work with. We will give you a list of hotels that we work with. We will give you a list of volunteer opportunities. We will make it so easy for you to connect with other volunteers. But you have to do the legwork.
I think that's that's such a great. Sorry, go. No, I just think there were so many people wanting to do stuff, and you had this more macro sense, like, okay, how can I like organize this so everybody can be able to participate? And that is just so amazing, like that you created that, because we all are working in our, like we were saying before, like these homogeneous pockets. Like I'm in Chicago with Simona doing this, but then there's people in Dallas or whatever. And to have that exchange, I think it's so successful because it was so needed. We all needed to connect in a place like that, you know?
Yeah, and people feel also so much pride in the work that they do when they take the initiative to actually plan their own trip. When they come home and they, for the first time, have traveled by themselves. And not only that, have navigated a brand new country by themselves and helped out in the middle of a war. And they come home and they're like, I did that. I helped. It helps them grow so much as a person, And we're bringing people together all around the world.
We're coming up towards like the end of the hour, really. But what I think it's just crystallizing like something that was asked of me the other day about just like what I thought success was, like how if either been through the Chicago Jewish Alliance or through healthcare, like what was my advice? And my advice was like, it's hard in any endeavor you're going to do. So you might as well just be altruistic. Like if you're going to start a nonprofit for Jews, literally every decision you should make should be for a Jewish person. If you're going to start a healthcare company, everything you should do should be for the patient. And I think when you do that, you find purpose. And then once you find purpose, you're set up for the most chance of success. It's not that you're going to be successful, but if you're going to embark on anything, do it the way you want to do it and fail the way you want to fail. And like usually when you see people find that purpose and go, a lot of times they change the world. And you really have. You've changed your brother's life, your community's life, your country's life. And even in diaspora, we find you all around the country. People will tell us to go to your group. So you have just really moved the dial for your people, and it's truly inspiring for us too. Because like we did this podcast, I think more for us because we want to learn about like other people's experience and like. But there's something that's validating in the work that we're doing here by seeing you and meeting you. So it's really inspiring.
I appreciate it, and this is just the beginning. I'm only 24. I've got a long life ahead of me. And
you got a long way, girl.
I got a long way and I got a lot of battles to fight.
Before we go, how can people connect with you? How can people find you if they want to come volunteer?
You can go to our website, IsraelVolunteeropportunities.com. You can go to our Facebook group, Sword of Iron Israel Volunteer. And you can find us on Instagram at swordofiron.israelvolunteer.
Amazing. Yocheved, Kim, it's been such a pleasure to have you on the podcast today. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like and subscribe, follow, send it to a friend. I think everybody can learn something and be inspired by Yocheved's story today.
Thank you so much for having me.
That's all for today's Jew and Stew. Our thanks to Yocheved Kim Ruttenberg, a living example of what happened when conviction meets action. At 24, she has already mobilized tens of thousands, built a global volunteer network, and shown that Jewish courage is not an inheritance, but a practice, lived out every single day. If this conversation moved you, don't let that be the end. Share it, subscribe, pass it on, because voices like Yocheved's deserve to be heard far beyond this moment. We've been Daniel Schwartz and Simona Bogad. This is Jew and Stew. We'll be back with more conversations that remind us what it means to lead, to act, and to live unapologetically Jewish.
Follow the Chicago Jewish Alliance to stay in the loop and subscribe to this podcast so you can see what's coming next. We're going to have speakers that represent the entire spectrum of the Jewish community, from philosophical thinkers, from soldiers, people on the front lines of advocacy work on universities. Thank you for being here. We'll see you next time.